Welcome to another biology video. Today we're doing unit 4, senses and coordination, and we're doing paragraph 5 about the eyes. In this video we'll address the outside of the eye, so the things we see on the outside of the eye. Then we're gonna, still a little bit outside and a little bit inside, we're gonna look at the pupil. Finally we continue on the inside and we'll see 3 layers, and one of those layers is being the retina. We'll need a little special attention to the retina. So on the outside, when you look at somebody's eye, you can see structures like, for example, up here we see the eyebrow, which protects the eye from sweat, and also it usually hangs a little bit over the eye to protect it in case, for example, you get hit by a ball in the face, that it probably hits the nose and the eyebrow first rather than immediately the eyeball. We continue on the eyelashes. For example, the eyelashes are to keep bigger dirts and finer dirts out of the eye. For example, if something is about to fly into your eye probably closes out of reflex because it doesn't want to get hit by that. Also, we have eyelids. Eyelids are the skin that cover the eye and moisten the eye by closing it, which you don't see, but in general you should know. You have tear glands, for example. These are actually the moisteners. They make the moist to keep your eyeball wet. All in all, on the outside you find all these structures which are to maintain and protect your eye. Very gentle, keep it simple, to maintain and protect the eye. Now when you continue looking on the outside of the eye, you see that there is this pretty colorful parts which we call the iris. They are green, blue, brown, gray, a multitude of colors. In general they all have the same function, which is to reflect the light that hits the eye, and it decides how much light comes into the eye. Because if the iris is big, that means the little black hole is small, so that means less light enters the eye. And if the iris is small, that means the black hole becomes big, that means more light can enter the eye. The black hole we call the pupil. So the pupil can change in size, and this is actually the place where light enters the eye, the hole. The video won't play, unfortunately, but this is about the pupillary reflex. If I shine a light in somebody's eye, the iris becomes big and the black hole becomes narrow, and that's because of we don't want too much light in our eye because it can damage the sensory cells in our eye. For example, if you look into a light too long, at some point you'll start seeing spots. That's because you damaged some of your sensory cells. They can recover. They are overstimulated and they can recover, but if you continue doing this, if you do this too long, or if a light that's too bright, you can permanently damage them. After overstimulation, just like a child, after you overstimulate a child, it can calm down. But if you make him really crazy and he loses it and something snaps, the damage can be permanent. I know it's a bad comparison, but for example, overstimulation, seeing the bright spots for a longer period of time, we can recover, but we can also permanently damage. But to prevent this, we have the pupillary light reflex. Too much light, our iris becomes bigger, so the colorful part becomes bigger, and the pupil, where the light actually enters, becomes smaller. That's because we have circular muscles, so round muscles in our iris. They contract, and what happens if you make a circle, you can do it with your fingers. If you make a circle smaller, the hole actually becomes smaller. Then if it's very dark, we would like to see more, so we want more light in our eyes. The opposite happens. the black hole, the pupil, actually becomes bigger and the iris becomes more narrow. This is because of the radial muscles, so these are straight muscles in our iris. And that's the pupillary reflex, the adjusting how much light comes into the eye. Now, still a little bit on the outside, but if you ever look at the side view of an eye, you can see that the eyeball is not 100% round. There's this like little bulb on top of it. First part of this little bulb is what we call the cornea. It's a hard, transparent layer, so it's see-through. It's the cornea. It protects the eye, the soft structures after it. Oh, here we can see it better. So we have a partially round eyeball, and then there's this bulb on top of it. First the hard cornea for protection, then the colorful iris, which regulates how much light comes in, the pupil where the light actually comes in. Then we come to the lens, which is also the see-through little oval shape. It can change shape, and by making it rounder or flatter, it adjusts where the light falls in the retina. So if you make it rounder, it comes closer by, and if you make it flatter, the light spread widens over the retina. But in short, the lens changes shape to focus light on the retina. Then we continue on to the 3 layers, because you can see besides the opening of the eye there is much more. First we start with the outside, the white layer, which is the sclera. The sclera is not as hard as the cornea, but still very, very sturdy. It's for protection. Then we go to the middle layer, which is the choroid. It's red because of what it provides, which is blood. It's filled with blood vessels. It keeps everything in the eye alive. Blood, as you know, is the provider of nutrients, so oxygen, sugars, and it takes away the waste products. So it pretty much keeps the eye provided and healthy. Then we go to the inner layer, which is a yellow layer. The inner layer is the part where the party starts. It's the retina, so the one I mentioned a few times before already. It's filled with sensory cells. So this is the part where you actually can capture light stimuli, and it's transformed into an impulse thanks to these sensory cells. It responds to the amount of light and to colors, but that you'll learn that in a later year. So once again, we're going to look at the retina again, so the inner yellow layer, because it's special. It has a few special spots. The first one being the fovea. You see this little dimple on the side? This is what we call the fovea. It's special because it has a high concentration of sensory cells. So the light we want to see. So if you put your finger in front of you, like stretch out your arm and put your finger up in front of you, you can see the finger sharply. It's in focus. That's because the light of your finger now falls into that little fovea dimple. If you pay attention, you see that while you're looking at your finger, everything in the background seems to be a bit blurry. So a meter further, everything is a bit blurry. Because that light, even though it seems to be on the same line, does not fall in your fovea. It's on your retina, you see it, so it's on your sensory cells, but it's not in that little dimple. So you can see it, but not as sharp as and in focus as your finger. So it falls somewhere on your retina, but not in your fovea. Whatever you see in your fovea, you see sharp and in focus. If light that falls on the rest of your retina, you see, but not as sharp and in focus. Now there is another dimple, and this dimple is the blind spot. As the word already says, blind, you do not see the light that falls in your blind spot. Because your eyes are connected to big optic nerves, so nerve bundles, because all your sensory cells, they need to send their impulses away to the brain through the optic nerve. And it's like in a room, you don't put chairs in front of the exit, you need to leave through the exit, so there are no sensory cells on the exit, on the blind spot. So light which actually falls into the blind spot, you do not see. And I think the next slide, yeah, the next slide will show that. So left is how you would normally see a full picture. However, on the right is what we actually see. You can see that there is a spot where we cannot register anything. We have two ways to prevent this blind spot, this actually blank happening. First way is we have two eyes, so we get two pictures, and the blind spot of each eye is somewhere else. And it's adding 1 plus 2 makes a correct picture. However, if you close one eye, or you cover one eye, still no weird blind spot happening, as we can see on the right picture. Because our brain feels like it doesn't want this blind spot, so it actually fills in stuff. And it's just gonna make a matching picture. But if like one detail, which is different from the rest, falls in that blind spot, you probably won't see that detail. Your brain will make it into a continuous line or a matching picture. But actually the blind spot picture is what we actually see. Our brain just does a lot for us. So that's the blind spot, an area in your eye where you cannot register the light. You have them in both eyes, by the way. This was again a video. Unfortunately, I cannot play it during a recording. What happens in this video is, for example, if you play with a cat and hold a piece of string, like a touwtje, in front of its eye, in front of its head, it probably will follow it for a while. And while it follows it, the pupils, so you know the cat eyes, they become really narrow, and they become these little slits. They change the whole time, because even though the cat is laying still, the string is moving, so it needs to adjust where the light is hitting the fovea. So it adjusts its pupillary, adjusts its pupil with the pupillary reflex to follow the light of the string. So that was an example of how the fovea adjusts. Well, not the fovea adjusts, but the lens adjusts and the pupil adjusts to get the light in the fovea. We want to see sharp, and we do this by adjusting the pupil and adjusting the lens. So that was again a bit on the fovea. Now, at the end of this video, you should be able to give me the function of the external structures of the eye, so the eyebrow, the eyelashes. Why do we have them? Why is the eye socket deeper into our face rather than flat? Then the internal structure of the eye, the pupil, what does it do? The iris, what does it do? The three layers, so the sclera, the choroid, the retina. Why is it red? Why is it, you don't know why it's yellow, but what's the retina? What can I find on the retina? And I'm gonna focus on the retina. You need to be able to tell me what the fovea is for, what the blind spot is for. You can expect questions about the retina in the test. So make sure you are able to describe the fovea and the blind spot. What they do, why we have them. Well, I hope this video explained a little for you on the paragraph of the eyes. If not, make sure you send me a question before the test. Good luck!